Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Cognitus webinar series. I'm just letting a few more people join, and then we can begin shortly. Welcome once again. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Harsh Mishra and your host and VP of Sales at Cognitus Consulting. In our webinar today, we're going to be talking about SAP Ariba Digital Supplier Network with Dynamic Discounting. In my recent conversation with procurement leaders and CFOs across industries, most of them have said to us that their priority for 2021 is to maximize their saving from their procurement process. Today, I'm joined by my friends and colleagues, Dennis Gustin and Eric Manley, who are going to talk to you about just that. Dennis is the ISM practice lead at Cognitus, and Eric Manley is the partner market development for intelligent enterprise ecosystems at SAP. I see a lot of our customers, and I also see some new faces on this webinar today. For those who have joined us for the first time today, I'd like to take a moment to talk to you about Cognitus Consulting. Considered as one of the world's most advanced SAP S/4HANA conversion factory and one of the world's leading SAP Ariba implementation practice, Cognitus Consulting was established in 2002. Over the 19 years, we've had the privilege of serving some hundreds of SAP customers. We are a team of 850 SAP professionals globally and serve our customers from 14 locations around the world. Today, we are serving 75 active customers, and I can go on and on. But without further delay, let me pass on the baton to my friend, Eric Manley, who's going to talk to you about our Ariba Digital Supplier Networks. There you go, Eric.
All right. Thank you, Harsh. If you want to flip to the next slide. Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. I am Eric Manley, and I am based in the Chicagoland area. I've been with SAP for just a little over 5 years now, representing our intelligent enterprise ecosystem. And it's great to speak with you all today and partner with Cognitus. So we are really excited about our digital supplier network offering, also known as the DSN or the SAP Business Network, as we put focus back into the basics, right? So just a little history. So when SAP bought Ariba 8 years ago, the idea was simple, right? To connect the supplier portal to all of our SAP ERPs. But still today, we only have about a 10% penetration across our own customers. We have identified those reasons as being cost, complexity, and perception in the market. With this new solution, we remove those barriers to entry and we commit to offering the SAP Digital Supplier Network through the lens of SAP. The SAP Digital Supplier Network completes S4 by connecting buyers with their suppliers and trading partners digitally. So it all starts with the network. Because when you join, you get instant access to millions of suppliers across hundreds of categories. And you're able to automate relationships with your suppliers, eliminating unnecessary email traffic, phone calls, and even maintenance to old, outdated EDI portals. With the SAP Digital Supplier Network, you and your team can find virtually almost any good or service through simple buying tools, so you can bring spending under control without increasing the demands on your team. And you can easily share information back and forth with suppliers. So POs and invoice documents and early payment discounts, discount offers are now centralized all in one location. Next slide, please. We believe that the path to the intelligent enterprise is paved with digital. Our message to our customers is very simple. SAP now has a supplier portal as part of our ERP offerings. We have more than the digital core. We deliver digital collaboration with our business partners, and no SAP ERP should be without the network. The SAP Digital Supplier Network provides a flat annual fee for our buyers. It's free for your suppliers to join, and buyers can be live and transacting in as little as 3 weeks. And most important, it natively connects with ECC, S/4HANA on-prem, and S/4HANA Cloud. Next slide, Harsh, please. So with the Digital Supplier Network, you will be able to realize direct savings with our dynamic discounting functionality for those early payments and digitize 100% of spend and eliminate manual steps during your purchasing processes. Also, collaboration is done in real time with your suppliers to have complete visibility and status of your purchase orders and invoices at any time during the process. Our number one goal is to integrate your supply chain and automate transactions with your SAP ERP system. I think, Dennis, you're going to take over here.
Yep.
All right. Hi, Dennis.
Thanks, Eric. So hi, everybody. I'm very happy to be here this afternoon. So I'm Dennis Gustin. I'm the Intelligent Spend Management Practice Lead at Cognitus. We focusing on all procurement, mostly procurement cloud applications from SAP, such as Ariba, Concur, Fieldglass. And really this year, the big focus is on digital supplier network and dynamic discounting, since we've seen a lot of demand for different customers all across industries. So I want to just discuss and talk a bit more details about the scope of the digital supplier network. So as Eric explained, we're connecting buyers' ERP system to the supplier's ERP via the SAP Digital Supplier Network, or what we also call the business network. What does it exactly cover? So number one, the basics, the most standard purchase to procure to pay process for companies, whether you're talking direct or indirect procurement, is to start with purchase orders from buyers being sent across the network to suppliers who can respond to these, open the POs, see the content of it, confirm the orders, send the shipping notification once they're actually shipping the goods. And once the goods arrive at the buyer's dock, for example, when the buyer creates a goods receipt, now the supplier, through this functionality and the connection between the buyer's ERP system, the digital supplier network, and the supplier's ERP system, now the supplier would be able to be notified and see in real time that the goods have been received by the buyer. So the procure to pay, so from PO to order confirmation, ASN, and of course invoice. So once the supplier now, it would be able to send to create the invoice against the PO on the digital supplier network, and this invoice would be submitted and come directly, travel all the way to the buyer's ERP, and now it would create an invoice automatically on the buyer's, whether it's S/4HANA or ECC system. So really, this is the procure to pay process, but be aware that, as you can see on this slide, we can also implement the quote collaboration. So imagine a buyer wants to launch an RFP with multiple suppliers. Now they can publish this sourcing event on the digital supplier network, so that the potential suppliers, all the bidders, can consult and receive this sourcing event, whether it's an RFP, RFI, or RFQ, and they can collaborate in real time, respond to the event, and send a quote back to the buyer, who, once we will select and award the event, all the suppliers will be notified in real time through this platform. Also, and it's going to be one of our focus of our demo today, you will see that dynamic discounting is a great advantage of this solution, where buyers can maximize the available cash flow that they have, and suppliers can capture early discount when they need cash flow. So a lot of suppliers are willing to take early payment discounts for an extra discount, and that's what we're going to be showing you in a moment. Finally, last but not least, you can also service purchase orders can also be in scope, where the buyer's service POs can be sent through the digital supplier network, so that the suppliers would be able to submit service entry sheets directly online on the digital supplier network platform. Thank you. Next slide, please. So one of the main advantage of this solution is that you really can realize direct savings. I know you hear that a lot when you are about to purchase or invest in a new ERP, but here we're talking really about direct, concrete savings that come mostly from 3 different sources. Number one, spend compliance. So out of on average, based on a $200 million spent a year, we can estimate that 1 million plus savings can be realized with this solution. First, spend compliance. So by transacting real time on the same platform and having the buyer and the supplier connected and transacting through the same documents and sharing information and digitalizing all these documents, it will mitigate overpayment to suppliers. So why? Because now the risk of duplicate invoices or the risk of over fulfillment are basically eliminated, because we are both buyer and supplier are sharing the same documents. That's number one. Number two, process efficiency. As you know, an accounts payable team, the cost of processing invoices manually in their ERP system, whether it's SAP, ECC, S4HANA, or non-SAP ERP, takes time and of course money and efforts. So by automating and sending documents back and forth between the buyer and the supplier, you get a lot of savings on both sides from document processing. And last but not least, and that's going to be the focus of our demonstration today, cash flow. So buyers can capture and realize early payment discounts. So buyers who have cash available and suppliers who need cash are willing to take this early payment for an extra discount. Now they can collaborate, and now we have a solution that can finally capture those opportunities between the buyer and the seller. All right, next slide, please.
I think I'll take this one. Great overview, Dennis. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. And so Dennis talked a little bit about discount management, and pretty much the sole purpose of why we wanted to have this webinar is to make our audience, to make our customers aware that with the digital supplier network, we also have the ability for discount management, right? To accept early payments. So as we all know, cash flow has always been the lifeline for any business. You know, of all the suppliers that we've surveyed over the years, 49% of them would accept early payment opportunities. Dynamic discounting lets you extend early payment discount offers to virtually all your suppliers through the cloud while maintaining control of your dynamic discount programs. Buyers can easily capture all existing documents. Excuse me. Buyers can easily capture all the existing discounts and expand discount opportunities to new groups, to perhaps suppliers where a discount was never offered before. And your suppliers, they're going to feel at ease, right? Because they know that they now have an opportunity to get paid faster, but ultimately they'll have complete visibility to that transaction, as we'll demonstrate in a few minutes here. So one thing also is that discount management with the savings alone, right, can fund additional software purchases, can fund additional services. Just with the savings alone, we see an average of about $350,000 on every 200 million targeted of spend. So it could be a huge potential asset for companies that are looking to have that cash on hand for, additional software services or services that may be needed for, say, upgrades or expanding the digital supplier network to perhaps supply chain collaboration, sky's the limit, basically. So with that, I'm going to pause, and we're now going to kind of transition into our live demo. Hopefully everything goes well. So I'm going to kick the controls back to Dennis, and Dennis is going to kick off the live demo, acting as a buyer in one of our sandbox S4HANA ERP cloud systems. And then I'll play the role as our supplier utilizing the digital supplier network. Dennis?
Thanks, Eric. So yeah, thank you very much. You guys can see my screen, right? I'll take the buyer's hat, as Eric just mentioned. So here, I'm just logging into SAP, but I just want to draw your attention to a very important point, as you probably saw it on the slides, but I just want to highlight it again. This solution works with any SAP system. Starting from ECC. So whether you're using SAP ECC today, S4 HANA on-premise, S4 Cloud, S4 HANA Cloud, this solution works out of the box with standard connection through Cloud Integration Gateway. So you don't have to worry about the version of SAP you're using today. Even if you see here, it's a cloud, it's a more recent version maybe, but it doesn't mean that it's limited to this. I really wanted to highlight this important point. So I'm here, let's say I'm a buyer, and I've created a purchase order. I'm just going to open one that I just created earlier today. I just want to open it so that you can see it. So it's just a standard purchase order. In this case, I'm buying some stock materials, so direct trading goods that basically I'm sending to my supplier, domestic US supplier. And the only thing that the system knows is that the supplier is in the Ariba network. So through some master data, through some information that's entered in the SAP system, we know that it's the supplier is ready to transact with the digital supplier network. So as soon as I have a PO that is saved and approved, it will go automatically to the supplier through the Ariba network. The supplier will be notified through email notification, through mobile app notification, whether it's on cell phone, iPad, etc. And the supplier will just basically be ready to transact back with the buyer. So this is my PO, and I think Eric, I'll just send it, give it back to you so that you can start.
Yep, thanks, Dennis. You play a great buyer. Thanks for doing that. I will go ahead and share my screen. Just give me a yay, okay, when you're able to see my screen.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so I've already logged in. Let me just refresh and make sure everything is running as expected. So what we're seeing here is the digital supplier network, Ariba network. We have a new branding now where it's going to be moving forward soon, will be the business network, the SAP business network. So this is basically what a supplier would see if they were to log directly into the network via the UI from their laptop or desktop computer. So once the supplier does log in, they're landed onto their dashboard, right? This is what we call our dashboard. Here we have options for enablement. We can see our workbench, orders, fulfillment, invoices, payments, which we'll talk about later. If there's any catalogs involved, and reports, of course, things of that nature. Here is a really cool feature where we have kind of taken, and we call this our tile feature, where we can actually customize. And so when an end user, so when the supplier logs in, they can customize their dashboard to what they would like to see on a daily basis, whether that's they want to see new orders, orders that need invoicing. I believe if there's any rejected invoices, we don't have rejected invoices here, but that would appear here as well, okay? There's also some widgets here where the end user, the supplier can see, real-time reporting based on invoicing, purchase orders, how many invoices have been paid, year to date. And then what's really cool here is that We also have what we call the Supplier mobile app, which is can be downloaded via Google Play or the Apple App Store. Okay, and here basically there are limitations, but the supplier can do just about in regards to a transaction from end to end. The supplier can send the order confirmation, do the advanced ship notice, create an invoice, all from their mobile app, whether that's on an iPhone or an iPad or an Android phone. So let's talk a little bit about the purchase order that Dennis just sent over. So from my dashboard, I have a couple different options where I can go see that new purchase order. One, I'll receive a notification via email that lets me know that, hey, I have a new purchase order from my buyer. So if I know that purchase order number here, I can type it in search. I can go to my new orders tile, or also I can scroll down to my activity feed. So here I see that I have an order that has been received on April 21st at 2:50 p.m., which is today, and then the purchase order number, right? So I'm gonna just basically click here and go to view details of that new purchase order. So here I can see basically a snapshot of what has come over from my buyer. It has all the details that I would need. It lets me know that it is a new purchase order, and then the amount and the purchase order number. If there's any payment terms that have been pre-negotiated with the buyer, right? The payment terms are listed here as well. And then I can see the nuts and bolts of the 100 widgets or 100 items that Dennis and team would like to buy, okay? I say, oh, alrighty. So what I'm going to do now is say, yes, I have those 100 items. Let's go ahead and confirm that order. So I have a couple options here. I can confirm the entire order. I can reject the order, or there's some additional items where I can just update the line items. For instance, if there is multiple items listed, I can confirm partial, or I can confirm incomplete. And then of course, we'll get to ship notice and we'll get to the invoicing in a little bit. But for this sake here, I'm gonna go ahead and create an order confirmation for the entire order. I'm gonna give it a title, and this is really important because this document will transact real time over to the buyer's ERP system. So I want to make sure that I give it a title that the buyer can recognize. So I'll call it and I'll give it the last 4 digit of the purchase order number. Let's give it an estimated ship date. Now, theoretically, you know, in most cases, I probably wouldn't be able to confirm it today, but I'm going to do it for the sake of the demo. And that's estimated delivery day will be tomorrow. Right? If I wanted to add some shipping costs, I could. If I wanted to add some comments to the buyer and say, hey, you know, we're going to ship this immediately. We know that you're expecting. I can add some comments that would be visible to my buyer. And of course, the contents, the item is completely copied over from the purchase order here. So I'll go ahead and click next. And from that point, the system allows me one last check just to make sure that everything looks as expected. And then I'll go ahead and submit. One thing I want to point out after I submit is that in real time, the purchase order on the supplier side now has a status of confirmed, right? It went from new to now confirmed, and the related document that I just created is now attached to this particular purchase order. So if I needed to go back and take a look at it or print it out, I can go and do that if I need to. So just for the sake of time and demo purposes, I'm going to also proceed with creating a ship notice as well. Okay. Just like the order confirmation, I'm going to give the ship notice a unique name as well. We'll call that ASN. And then is it 806 or 807? I think it's 807. 807. So I'll give it a unique ID. And then what I'll do here is, you know, it's late in the afternoon. We're not able to ship today. You know, we're going to ship that out tomorrow, all 100 widgets. And then we're going to say delivery on Saturday. Okay. Now, a lot of suppliers will want to include the tracking information, right? So this can all be pre-configured by the supplier. So I'm going to go ahead and select FedEx, and it gives me a few more options to insert. Let's just insert a tracking number, and then tracking date we'll put on for tomorrow as well.
So if I can just chime in here for a second, Eric. One cool feature of this, right? As you see, the supplier here selects the carrier, FedEx in this case, and enters the tracking number. We can configure the system so that we link the carrier to a specific URL, so that now that Eric is going to submit the advanced shipping notification, the the buyer, when he receives it as an inbound delivery into his SAP system, he will have a URL directly with a hyperlink available in this document so that he can click on it, and will take him directly to track the shipment thanks to the URL that was attached to the supplier and this tracking number that was entered for this particular shipment. Go.
The date finally came through. I was scared for a minute there. Yeah, so the tracking date, and let me just say we'll ship that by air, right? So as Dennis was mentioning, that information would appear here. That would be set up, via customization, correct? All right. So just like the order confirmation, there are some additional fields that we can populate as well. And then most importantly, right, the update, the 100 widgets that we're going to ship to our buyer are now listed. So I have 100 items listed here, and the buyer can pre-configure with their suppliers tolerances, right? So maybe we only allow 10% overage on shipping, or no less than 10% under on shipping. So we can also configure transaction rules, business transaction rules that can help the supplier avoid errors, unnecessary errors that the buyer has pre-configured, okay? So I will go ahead and click next just to get one final look at my ship notice. Yes, everything looks okay. And I will go ahead and submit my advanced ship notice to my buyer and let them know that it's on the way. But before I pass, I want to let you guys know that the purchase order has again been updated, and the status is now listed as shipped. So this is really important for a supplier to know, and anyone that wants to say, hey, what's going on with purchase order 807, right? They can easily log in, come in here, take a look at the status of the order, purchase order, and see that, oh, okay, we've already shipped. Oh, there's an order confirmation that's visible as well. And the ship notice document here is also, right? Complete visibility for the supplier. And now Dennis is going to show that visibility from the buyer's perspective. Okay, I'll click done. And then Dennis, you can go ahead and share.
Yep, let me go and share again. If you can, give me one second. Yep.
There you go.
All right, so I'm back as a buyer. So as Eric just explained, so the supplier confirmed the order and shipped the goods. So what happens next? So as a buyer, I can also, by the way, especially if you're using S4 version of SAP, we can also set up some notifications so that the buyer can be notified that an order confirmation was received from the digital supplier network or a shipping notice for a specific purchase order. So I'm going to go and open the purchase order and just see that these documents have been received and posted against my purchase order. So by opening the purchase order, I'll just go, so this is the same PO, 807. I'm going to click into the item details, and I will go to the supplier confirmation tab. And I can see that two documents have been created. First, the order confirmation. So that just creates an order confirmation against your purchase order. And an ASN that was also received for the same quantity. And this would create an inbound delivery into the buyer's SAP system against the purchase order. So now that you've received this confirmation, the shipping notification, next step would be to go and create the goods receipt. Next day, so I'm now on, I think, Eric, we put is it Saturday 24th? So I'm Saturday, imagine, and the goods finally arrive at the dock. So whoever, whether it's the requester, whether it's the warehouse manager, could go into the SAP system, log in, and create a goods receipt against the purchase order. This is exactly what you're probably doing today. Nothing new. The only difference, as we're going to see, is collaboration. So let me just go ahead and post the goods receipt. Okay, material document has been created. Everything looks normal. So that's it, I'm done. I've created my goods receipt. Of course, if I go into the PO, I could see in the history that there's a goods receipt now that's been created. But more interestingly, Eric, the supplier, is going to be able to see now that the PO that was shipped has now a new status. So I'll let you take it back, Eric, maybe. So that
you got it. You got it. Let me know when you can see my screen.
We can see it.
Awesome. So as Dennis mentioned, I mean, we're doing this kind of in real time in a matter of minutes, but what's important to see here is how fast that integration is and how integrated, how connected, basically real time, right? Our scenario probably wouldn't happen in the everyday world, but you know, the focus is to demonstrate, you know, the transparency from both buyer and supplier. And what this is really going to do is minimize phone calls, as we mentioned earlier, and minimize emails, you know, back and forth from both buyer and supplier. So what I'll do really quick here is I'll go back into, this time I'll click on one of my tiles and I'll click on orders that need to be invoiced, because I think that's where we're at today or right now. So here's a list of all my invoices that are ready to be invoiced. As you can see, there's a couple that have status of new. There's shipped as well. And then the one that Dennis just received has now a status of received. So we have real-time status updates. We are time-stamped, right, with the amount, the date, and then I'm going to click right directly into that purchase order. And I could see that that related receiving goods receipt has now been transferred over into my supplier portal here. And my status is also listed here as received, okay? So what I'll simply do now is go ahead and create an invoice. And you have an option here to create a credit memo as well. We're just gonna create a standard invoice. And just like the order confirmation and the purchase order, we have additional fields that are listed here. And this can be pre-configured by the supplier and the buyer working hand in hand. We see that the items are listed here. There's 100 items. One point I like to talk about here is, let's just say the buyer says, you know what, I have 105 widgets, right? So I can go ahead and I want to try and change the quantity from 100 items to 105 and update my purchase order or update the invoice. Well, here there's a business rule that states that the quantity cannot exceed what's being allowed. So in this case, we're only allowing 100 items to be invoiced. So this clearly states to the supplier that, hey man, excuse me, sir, but you cannot, exceed the quantity that we sent over on the purchase order. So there, right there, there's a live transaction rule that's taken effect, right? And also, we are required to have tax on this particular invoice as well. So I'm just gonna put in 0% tax. Let me go back, there we go, update. And then the tax should populate. Update, and yes, so we have 0 tax rate as well. So also my invoice, there's also a notification here that I have a required field that needs to be populated, and that's our invoice number. So let me go ahead and give this a unique name as well, so Dennis will have clarity. We'll call that INV 807. So now that error message should disappear once we update. And it does. And then one thing that I could show here also is that this particular demo site does not allow duplicate invoices, right? So we would not allow a supplier to send us a duplicate invoice as a buyer. So everything looks good. No additional fields are needed. I will go ahead and hit next. And just like our OC and our advanced ship notice, we give you one last look to make sure everything looks as expected. and we'll go ahead and hit submit. Before I pass it over to Dennis, I just want to refresh my system here. I'm still showing received. Let me hit done. I want to go back into that purchase order and make sure that my status is now updated to, we'll go into orders this time. And here we see our purchase order 807, ending in 807, now has a status update of invoiced. Again, real-time collaboration between both buyer and supplier. Dennis, I'm going to pass this over to you now so that you can show the invoices now showing up in your process flow, and then you can take it from there.
All right. Thanks, Eric. So can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So now, indeed, I can see. So as a buyer, I can go back to the purchase order and I can see that I have, let's just go and open it. I'll go and take a look in the purchase order history, all the process flow. And I can see now that within seconds, I've got an invoice that's been created against the purchase order and the goods receipt. So the three rematch happened. As you can see, the invoice is posted because there was a valid goods receipt, because there was the tax was right, everything on the invoice was right. The supplier didn't overcharge me. One of the reasons is, Eric explained, and that's very interesting, it can save you a lot of time. As you can see that instead of having to deal with errors manually into your SAP system, as I'm here talking on accounts payable team behalf, or whoever from finance receives the invoices, instead of having to deal with the invoice errors from suppliers, by enforcing some rules on the supplier side directly at the source on the Ariba network, you don't allow him to submit an invoice until everything is right. So that's going to save you a lot of time in going back and forth with errors on invoices. You know that when you receive an invoice, thanks to the rules that you've enforced on the network, that you've decided to set up, the invoice will come with the right information on it. It will be allowed to be posted. So now what happens? We really want to show you one of the coolest feature of the digital supplier network called dynamic discounting. So imagine, let me go back to the PO for 1 second. And I just want to draw your attention on the payment terms here. So you've got a net 30 payment term with a 2% discount after 14 days. So that means if I pay you in 30 days, I'm going to pay you the full amount. But if I pay within 14 days, I'll take a 2% discount. And of course, by accepting the PO, the supplier is accepted to it. Now, with dynamic discounting and the digital supplier network, once an invoice is posted, there's a program that's going to run and send the supplier early payment discount proposal. So now I'm going to go give it back to Eric so that he can see what happened on the supplier side. What did he receive and what options does he have thanks to the payment term and the program that I've and the early payment discount proposal that I sent in. So back to you, Eric.
I have it control now. Thank you, Dennis, for that explanation. So just like creating an invoice, creating order confirmation, I also have an option to create early payments. Okay, we'll look at the scheduled payments in a minute, but we'll click on early payments. And earlier in the presentation, we talked about savings, right? And over time, how this can fund this discount capability can fund additional programs over time. Okay, so I see that I've gotten an update from my buyer, and I see that it's an update related to invoice 807, and I see that there's some information here. There's 14 days remaining. The 2% here that are our standard payment terms deducts automatically that $60 that Dennis mentioned, the 2%. But wait, let's go ahead and click into that payment ID, and we'll see some additional options that we've pre-negotiated with our buyer. So as you can see, the payment proposal right now, based on the payment terms, is $60. That's that 2%. But I have what we call a sliding scale here that I can say, so for instance, we have, if I paid today, right, my discount is going to be 2.89%. So these discount percentages can be negotiated, pre-negotiated with each supplier or a group of suppliers. Okay. So what I'm going to simply do really quick is I'm going to select the first option because I want to get the biggest bang for my buck, right? And I'm going to go ahead and accept, but I want you guys to pay close attention to our discount amount, how it changes. So if I accept that early payment of 2.8%, now my discount amount is reflected as should be, which is now $86.63, excuse me. And Dennis, if you have anything to add here, feel free.
I think you pretty nailed it. So yeah, you know, as you said, right? So if I pay within 13 days, if I get paid within 13 days, I give a 2% discount, $60, but I need the money now. And as you said, Eric, right? 49% of suppliers, statistically, per study from SAP Ariba, 49% of suppliers are willing to take early payment discounts, are willing to give an extra discount because they need the cash now. So for buyers who have cash available, that also happens a lot. If you talk to your treasury manager, they would always say, we have cash available. They want to maximize that cash. So that's how buyers and sellers find a common ground and can be negotiate together and find an agreement so that both parties get what they need. I get an extra discount and the supplier gets paid immediately. So if you just click on done and pass it over to me, I think.
Yep. And I'll just add, I mean, over time, this number will only grow, right? I mean, it started at 60 and we increased it by $26. That's cash in the pocket right there.
Right.
All right, let me go ahead and click done. And before I click done, I want to highlight really quick here, Dennis. If I go look at that particular scheduled payment right now, it tells me the system status lets me know that it's scheduled. Eventually, we're going to see that paid when Dennis works his little magic on his end, but we should see this paid once once it's passed back over to the supplier side. So Dennis, I'll let you go ahead and act as the buyer now.
Thanks, Eric. So let's say now the buyer's done his part, right? He's purchased, he's got the invoice, everything's been posted. So now what would happen next is that since the invoice has been posted, as you could see, it was reconciled right away. There was no exceptions. So now the invoice would be sent for payment. And typically the payment would run automatically based on a scheduled batch job. The program would run to generate those payments to supplier. But as you could see, what happened is the initial $60 discount that was proposed now has been adjusted to $86. We're talking $26 on a $3,000 invoice, but think of a $3 million, there would be $26,000 extra discount just on one invoice that would have been realized. So now I would just go ahead and run the payment. So I'll just take today's date. And all I'm doing here is I'll just take that invoice and I will create a single payment just as your payment program would do. I will be creating it. So there you go. So that now the payment was created and I'm going to go into look at the document and I can see that, let me just take today's date again, display the documents, and I can see that this document has been paid, all right? And I can have some details on the payment document. And as you can see, right, there's an invoice of $3,000, my payable, but there's $3,000 in your debit, but instead of crediting your bank transfer, your payment of $3,000, it just credited $2,913. So you actually paid $2,913, and there was a posting to the discount account, credit account of discount received for $86. So where you could capture your $26 extra discount. So I think Eric, maybe if you want to show on your side, maybe the status. So let me stop sharing and you can.
Okay. My screen should be coming up in a sec here. So again, I'm the supplier. I'm back on my dashboard. And if I click on my payments tab here and go to scheduled payments, I should now see that status change to paid, and it is. So we have invoice 807. Scheduled payment date is the 23rd, and the status is now paid, and it reflects the $86 in which we gave a discount to our buyer for early payment.
Okay. So I think this concludes our demo, right? So thanks a lot, Eric. Thanks everybody for your attention. So as you could see, right, not only we trying to have a platform where buyers and suppliers can collaborate together, when they can exchange documents, we're seeing that suppliers don't have to find the POs in a mailbox somewhere. They can just log into the system, find the PO, and create an invoice, an order confirmation, or a shipping notice against it. We see that the buyers don't have to manually create all these invoices, order confirmations, inbound deliveries. These exchange of documents, number one, mitigates the errors. Number two, saves a lot of time. And number three, most importantly, as you can see through dynamic discounting, we're talking about actual savings that can be realized right away, immediately, and make everybody happy. So that was really it. So thanks a lot for your attention. And I think we have about 10, 15 minutes left, so we'd be happy to take to answer your questions if you have any. So please feel free to type it in the chat, and we'll be answering the questions that you
Great job, Dennis.
Yeah,
Thanks,
great
Eric.
job, Eric and Dennis. This has been a fantastic presentation, and I think our audience learned a lot, and they have some fantastic questions here for you already. So I'm going to roll them out, and each of you can take a few. So first question, what is the difference between SAP Digital Supplier Network and SAP Ariba Snap? Who's taking that?
Dennis, do you want to go ahead and take that one, or do you want me to?
Go
ahead,
I'll take it.
Sure.
Ariba Snap is a methodology for an Ariba buying and invoicing implementation. So as you could see here, the Digital Supplier Network, we're connecting the Ariba network actually to your SAP ERP system, whether it's ECC or S4HANA. So basically, DSN is a combination of network plugged into your SAP system. Ariba Snap is, in an Ariba Snap project, we implement Ariba buying and invoicing. So now instead of creating your purchase order, your purchase requisition, your purchase orders in SAP, as I did earlier today, as you could see, you create your purchasing documents in Ariba directly. So it's an extra layer. It has more user-friendly screens, definitely, and functionalities that you have in SAP. So really, Snap is a more complete implementation. It comes with a new user experience from the requesters, buyers, approvers, etc. And it also leverages everything you just saw here on the Digital Supply Network for the collaboration and digitalization of your procurement documents.
That was fantastic. Thank you. Thank you there, Dennis. All right, the next question. How does the integration work?
Ooh, I'll go ahead and take that one.
All right.
So the integration is pretty simple, as we mentioned before. So the integration between the SAP ERP system and the Digital Supplier Network occurs through what we call Cloud Integration Gateway, CIG, right? CIG is built on the SAP Cloud platform, and it comes natively with the Digital Supplier Network. Basically, it's we like to call it plug and play. So you have, your S4HANA system sitting here. You have the Cloud Integration Gateway that's pre-built, natively built in the middle, and then you have the Digital Supplier Network ready to go. It's basically, you click on a feature, enable the Cloud Integration Gateway, and then you're off and running. It's pretty hands-on. All can be done and set up in. We've seen it set up in less than 3 hours. So that's pretty good for an integration to get out the first test, purchase order, and invoice. So,
just want to add something here, Eric. We also have, at Cognitus, we have quite a few integration experts, I'm proud to say. And we can, we can integrate, whether it's Digital Supplier Network or Ariba Snap, we can integrate with non-SAP ERP systems. So it's good, it's important to note. Of course, it won't be, we would not use cloud integration gateway like Eric just described. We would use a different technology, but we can integrate these Ariba, whether it's Digital Supplier Network or Snap, we can integrate with non-ERP system such as Oracle, Oracle NetSuite, PeopleSoft, et cetera, et cetera. So just important to remember that it's not, your ERP does not have to be SAP.
Right, and we have a lot of questions coming in. So while we're still answering a few, I think I wanted to share this slide, which has got all our contact details so that you can keep them coming even after this presentation. Right, so next questions. Do suppliers have to pay to transact with customers? And by the way, you can keep putting the questions in your Q&A section as well in this webinar. So, do suppliers have to pay?
I think it may be my turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
As mentioned before, it is we have two different accounts that a supplier can choose from. One is what we call our standard account setup, where it's basic transactions, right? It's free to the suppliers, but we know that there are scenarios where a supplier would want to upgrade, and that would be to our enterprise supplier account, where we can do additional things. We see a lot of that with our larger suppliers, such as some of our large office vendors, Staples, Office Depot, Dell. Some of our larger suppliers will utilize the enterprise supplier account, and more so for the direct connect from their ERP, from the digital supplier network, right into the buyer's ERP, vice versa. And then, so the standard account is email based, which is great for your smaller suppliers, right? They'll receive an they would receive a purchase order via email. It's an interactive email. They'd be able to go on, create their order confirmation, advanced ship notice, just like we showed here. And they would be able to do that through email. So 2 options for 2 different suppliers, standard and enterprise. Standard is free.
Thank you, Eric. That was fantastic. All right, Dennis, your turn. And the lucky question for $1 million is, can we support multiple ERPs?
What was that? Sorry?
Can we support multiple ERPs, which means SAP, non-SAP, and enterprises that have various ERP systems?
Right. So yeah, like I said, this is ERP agnostic solution. We can connect it to different non-SAP system. We have personally, Cognitus, we have done with Oracle, NetSuite, JD Edwards, PeopleSoft. So this is just an example of what you can do with non-SAP ERP. Also, I think in the question, because if you're talking multi-ERP, so you would have one ERP. So if you have 3 ERP systems that you want to connect to Ariba, for example, you'd have to have 3 different connections, so 3 different networks. So this is a one-to-one connection between the buyer network, or the digital supplier network and your ERP system. It's a one-to-one connectivity. Just wanted to make sure, in case it was what was in the question. Sorry.
Yep, that was fantastic. And in the last few minutes, I want to take one more question for right now. How do I know if my customer suppliers are on the network? That is a very important question. This is how millions of dollars are saved for the buyers as well, right? So how do I know?
I'll take that one. Yeah, absolutely. So we have this thing that we call supplier match, right? So even before we start talking dollars and cents, we can come in and we can take a list of buyers, suppliers that they're currently, trading documents with, would be purchase orders, invoices, and we can do what we call a supplier matching. So we'll take your 12 months of spend and we'll run it through one of our fancy tools. And then we can get back the data spit out from what's basically, it'll give us a display of who's on the network, how many suppliers are already transacting on the network, how much spend, how many invoices. So ultimately, this gives the buyer the breakdown that basically says, wow, I already have 60% of my suppliers already transacting on the network. And what we found to find out, or what we found is that, buyers are actually surprised to see that, holy cow, 80% of my suppliers are already using the network, right? So now the conversation becomes easy when we sit down with those suppliers and say, hey, we're going to do a little change management here, but guess what? You're already using the network. So the transition should be a smoother transition. And we know change management can be difficult at times, but with this supplier matching program that we offer, which is actually free to the buyer, it just gives them a better understanding of the power of the network and the capabilities behind it. So,
no, that's fantastic. And
all right,
yeah, we've just got time for capturing any final thoughts, gentlemen. It's been such a pleasure right now. So anything that you want to add for a huge audience that we have here today to take away before I thank them and hoping to see them again soon.
Right. So before you go into the closing statement, Harsh, I just want to say, first of all, I want to thank everybody for their attention. And I hope you guys liked what we showed you today, and I hope you found it useful and interesting. I just want to highlight that you have our contacts here. If you need more information, please reach out to any of us. And I want to say that, we have very attractive package solutions, deals for those solutions. So whether it's, somebody mentioned the Ariba Snap in the question, if they're interested in transacting with Ariba, or in particular this digital supplier network with dynamic discounting, we've got fixed price offers, fixed price packages that you can leverage across all industries. And as Eric said, it takes only a couple of weeks to get live. So if you're interested, we'd be very happy to receive your information, questions, and have more detailed discussion. So thanks everybody, and back to you, Harsh, for the.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for joining. This year and has been one of those years where supply chain and procurement digitization has been the biggest endeavor for almost all our clients across the industries, right? So we're here to help you with that, and we look forward to serving you. And for now, it's Thursday, almost Friday. So thank God we're coming to the end of the week. Time for everybody this evening to go get some whiskey, coffee, whatever they like to do in the evening. Thank you for attending, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.